Hey all, good evening, friends. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It is December 12th, 2025. I know it feels like I'm beating a dead horse, but anytime more information comes out about something, I want to share it. And that's what I'm going to share with you. We're going to step back a little bit to the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea with the Patriarch and the Pope. And this is important for us Orthodox. This isn't about, getting in about the Pope. This is about the Patriarch and what happened in the liturgical service at the Fanar at that time. I didn't know all the details of it. Maybe you all do, but I don't. And so I'm going to share what I heard, what I read in this article. Now I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a refresher here. What the Metropolitan Seraphim had said from Greece had said about this service. Okay, he had said. The hierarch stated that the format of the events, the participation of Pope Leo XIV, and the declaration signed by both sides raised serious and theological concerns. Okay? He mentioned some of it, but it doesn't really feel like it is detailed. Well, now I have some information that is detailed. That was by an author by Nazar Golovko. Okay, so this is what he reports. Liturgical and canonical violations during the Pope's visit to Constantinople. This is very important if you're an Orthodox person, an Orthodox lay person, and obviously Orthodox clergy should be concerned, and I know there's many that are. But how many of us lay people actually know most of the canons? We don't. So I'm going to read this to you. We have witnessed egregious violations of Orthodox canon law, distortions of the liturgical order, and the deliberate misleading of the faithful in terms of the dogmatic gulf that still separates Orthodoxy and Catholicism. Misleading of the faithful. That's us. Okay? Let's remember that. On November 30th, 2024, an event took place. This is in 2024. Okay. So this apparently is, let's just go with what they're saying here. Okay. An event took place in the Church of St. George on the Fanar that caused profound concern among Orthodox Christians. The visit of Pope Leo XIV to Constantinople and his presence at a service presided over by Patriarch Bartholomew exposed numerous liturgical, canonical, and ecclesiological irregularities that demand careful theological scrutiny. What exactly happened? So this happened a year ago, just over a year ago. And I'm sure it was somewhat discussed then, but so let's just go over this, okay? Liturgical anomalies and canonical violations. The first striking detail evident from the recordings is the Pope's arrival on the Fanar on November 29th and his act of blessing Orthodox Christians. Blessing Orthodox Christians. Something absolutely inadmissible according to Orthodox canon law, okay? In particular, Apostolic Canon 45, Apostolic Canon 45 states that Patriarch Bartholomew should not have permitted this. A bishop or presbyter or deacon who has merely prayed with heretics shall be suspended. If he allows them to perform anything as though they were ministers of the church, he shall be deposed. Moreover, the Pope processed with a pastoral staff that may be used only by the true shepherd of the Church of Christ. Again, raising the question of why Patriarch Bartholomew allowed such actions. Okay, so another canonical violation occurred when the Pope was commemorated first in the diptych, before Patriarch Bartholomew. During the doxology, the deacon proclaimed, "Again, we pray for the most holy Bishop of Rome, Pope Leo." Who has ever heard of that in an Orthodox church? Commemorating a person that isn't even in the church, some hierarch that's not even part of the church. And for our Archbishop and Patriarch Bartholomew, this is outrageous, disgraceful. This is a blatant affront to the foundations of Orthodox ecclesiology. According to Orthodox teaching, the Patriarch of Constantinople occupies the first place of honor among Orthodox primates because the Bishop of Rome fell into heresy and is excluded from the diptychs of the Orthodox Church. The Ecumenical Patriarchate is called the First Throne precisely because its primate presides at liturgical services and councils. In the diptychs, the name of the Ecumenical Patriarch must always stand first among Orthodox hierarchs. To commemorate the Pope first reinstates a pre-1054 order of precedence. After the Great Schism, the Pope cannot hold first place. Restoring it amounts to recognizing his primacy and, in a sense, abandoning Orthodox ecclesiology. A highly significant moment is that the Pope entered the church during the singing of the Trisagion, precisely the moment when, according to Greek tradition, the bishop who presides at the divine liturgy enters the sanctuary. The Pope was vested in the pallium prestigiosum, papal stole, a distinctive liturgical vestment used only at solemn liturgies. This means that the Pope was not merely present as a guest, but participated prayerfully as a hierarch. After the liturgy, the chanters intoned, and it says Greek there, and it says, "Preserve, O Lord, for many years, the most holy and most blessed Lord, the Pope of Rome, Leo." Have you ever heard it? I mean, I did not know this happened. This is disgraceful, outrageous. It must be remembered that in Orthodox worship, the formulas, Kyrie, I don't know what that says, and this other part, are pronounced only for those who are in Eucharistic communion with the Church. To commemorate and glorify a hierarch in this manner signifies recognition of him as a legitimate bishop in unity of faith and Eucharistic fellowship. To use such a formula for the Pope, who was not in communion with Orthodoxy, is a grave canonical violation. Such a formula expresses blessing, recognition of hierarchical dignity within one church, and liturgical unity. In effect, it is a liturgical acknowledgement of the Pope as an Orthodox hierarch, which is a falsehood and a deception of the faithful. Falsehood and deception of the faithful. For an Orthodox Christian to use such a formula of a heretic is to violate fundamental ecclesial canons and betray orthodoxy. During the liturgy itself, numerous departures from the Orthodox order were committed. Patriarch Theodore of Alexandria did not commemorate Patriarch Bartholomew, though according to liturgical order, a concelebrating bishop who receives the Holy Chalice must commemorate the presiding patriarch. Even more strange was the order of commemorations after this consecration of the gifts. According to Orthodox practice, Patriarch Bartholomew, as a celebrant, should commemorate all Orthodox patriarchs, and then all concelebrating bishops and priests jointly commemorate him. But on the Phanar, that day, the order was reversed. Patriarch Bartholomew commemorated all Orthodox, then Patriarch Theodore did the same, then the representative of the Patriarchate of Antioch commemorated Patriarch John first, the representative of Jerusalem commemorated Patriarch Theophilus the first, then hierarchs of the Ecumenical Patriarchate commemorated Patriarch Bartholomew one by one, and only at the very end did they commemorate him jointly as first. A natural question arises: who then is first? According to the commemorations of November 30, the first would be the Patriarch John of Antioch. Yet, this contradicts Orthodox ecclesiology. Such confusion creates liturgical chaos and reveals either complete ignorance of Orthodox order or its deliberate distortion. Okay? So it's either ignorance or deliberate distortion. Why did this occur? One possible explanation is the desire not to quote-unquote offend the Pope, who before 1054 held the first place. Another striking detail concerns the kiss of peace before the creed. After the deacon's call, "Let us love one another, that with one mind we may confess," the Pope was led to the center of the church, and Patriarch Bartholomew and Theodore, those patriarchs, came out of the sanctuary to exchange the kiss of peace with him. Only afterward did they exchange the kiss with the concelebrating hierarchs. Good grief, it must be stressed that the words "that with one mind we may confess," quote unquote, indicate that the celebrants are united in faith, having no dogmatic disagreements. A Roman Catholic theologian recently stated precisely this, that Orthodox and Catholics, quote unquote, share a common faith properly defined in the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed and have achieved mutual understanding regarding the sacraments. Really, the main issue now concerns the structure of the church, that is, the ministry. According to him, the only remaining obstacle to full unity is the question of the Pope's primacy and infallibility. Such claims not only distort reality, but intentionally mislead the faithful. The Roman Catholic Church continues to uphold the Filioque and many other doctrinal errors separating it from Orthodoxy. There is no dogmatic unity between Orthodoxy and Catholicism, and therefore such a kiss during the liturgy constitutes liturgical falsehood. This is a scandal. This is sinful, in my opinion. Going against your own church's. Okay. Defenders of Patriarch Bartholomew attempt to justify the kiss of peace and joint prayer by claiming that Pope Leo XIV accepted the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed without the Filioque, thereby supposedly drawing closer to Orthodoxy. Such reasoning reveals either theological ignorance or deliberate manipulation. Here we go again. It's either ignorance or deliberate distortion or manipulation. Catholic apologetics have long developed a sophisticated strategy to justify their insertion into the creed, reducing the dogmatic problem to a supposed difference between Greek and Latin theological language. According to this concept, the Greek term ekporomai, used by the fathers of the Second Ecumenical Council denotes the ontological eternal procession of the Holy Spirit, his hypostatic origin from the Father. The Latin procedure, Catholic theologians claim, refers not to this ontological origin, but to the Spirit's temporal mission and activity in salvation history. They then construct a theory. The Holy Spirit proceeds ontologically from the Father as the sole source of the Godhead, but is sent into the world by the Son, which supposedly justifies the Latin procedure. This scholastic distinction between, quote, eternal procession and quote, temporal mission, end quote, allows Catholics to argue that no real contradiction exists, only different emphases. But such theological acrobatics collapse under scrutiny. The fathers of the Church who formulated the Creed knew both Greek and Latin and, had they deemed such distinctions necessary, would have expressed them. The Creed is a confession of faith, not an academic treatise. Every word carries binding dogmatic meaning, and no additions are permissible regardless of intent. Most importantly, the Filioque issue did not arise from linguistic misunderstanding. Its root lies in the unilateral action of the Western Church, which presumed to alter the Creed without a council and without the agreement of the entire Church. This violation of conciliatory makes the Filioque unacceptable, even if it were theologically sound, which it is not. Furthermore, Pope Leo XIV is not the first to recite, quote-unquote, the Creed without the Filioque. John Paul II did the same. Such gestures change nothing. The Vatican's repeated claim that dogmatic differences no longer exist, that the only obstacle is papal primacy, makes the founder's actions all the more troubling. Analysts note that in the event of union, the Ecumenical Patriarchate would likely receive the status of a sous church. similar to the Armenian Catholics, Syro-Malabars, Malankara Catholics, or the Ukrainian Greek Catholics, with no expectation of expanded rights. Okay. Against the backdrop of the Pope's visit to Turkey and strong criticism from Greek clergy and theologians, the Profanar website, Fos Fanaru, published on November 28th fragments of previously unpublished correspondence between the revered spiritual father and theologian Archimandrite Ioul, I don't know how to say that, and then the last long name, and Patriarch Athenagoras. I think it's Yanni Kopoulos, something like that. And Patriarch Athenagoras, in a letter dated December 1966, Father Loyal, whatever you say it is, wrote, quote, "Undoubtedly, the unity of the churches, which we always desire in peace in the liturgy, and for which the Lord himself prayed in his high priestly prayer, John 17:11, is still far away because of our doctrinal differences. Yet our love for other churches must, for reasons of prudence and substance, be cultivated intensively through dialogues and meetings," end quote. How these words can justify what happened on the Fano remains unclear. At the same time, the Fano-aligned media fully ignored the view of St. Paisios the Athonite, who said, "When the Patriarch meets with the Pope, what benefit does it bring to the Church? None. And what harm? Great harm, because it misleads simple people." These words describe with precision what is happening now. Simple believers, seeing the Patriarch pray with the Pope, receive his blessing and exchange the kiss of peace with him during the liturgy, inevitably conclude that no serious differences remain between Orthodoxy and Catholicism. They are misled, given a false impression of dogmatic unity where none exists. Again, really important. They are misled, given a false impression of dogmatic unity where none exists. St. Paisios also stressed the need for unity among Orthodox Christians before any discussion of unity with Catholics. He taught, quote, "First, the Orthodox themselves must be united, and only then should we think of the others. What is the point of uniting with those in heresy if we ourselves are not at peace with one another?" These words resonate powerfully today. As the Orthodox Church faces deep internal divisions, the Ecumenical Patriarchate is not in Eucharistic communion with the Russian Orthodox Church because of the Ukrainian schism. Significant disagreements exist among local churches. In such a situation, seeking unity with Catholics appears absurd and reveals utterly distorted priorities. In modern ecumenism, theology has long receded into the background. Even the filioque, that's another important thing. In modern ecumenism, theology has long receded into the background. Even the filioque was introduced primarily as a political act, a demonstration of Western self-assertion and authority, a declaration that Rome could alter the creed without a council. The theological justifications appear only later. Today, when the Vatican readily displays remarkable flexibility by reciting the creed without the filioque, it becomes evident that the dogma itself was never the true end. Rome is prepared to offer any quote-unquote concessions regarding secondary doctrines for the sake of its principal goal, the primacy of the Roman pontiff. Everything else is negotiable. The events that unfolded on the Fano on November 30, 2024 lead to sobering and alarming conclusions. We have witnessed egregious violations of Orthodox canon law, distortions of the liturgical order, and the deliberate misleading of the faithful regarding the dogmatic gulf that still separates Orthodoxy and Catholicism. This right here is like so important. We have witnessed egregious violations of Orthodox canon law, distortions of the liturgical order, and the deliberate misleading of the faithful regarding the dogmatic gulf that still separates Orthodoxy and Catholicism. All of this reveals a profound crisis within the Ecumenical Patriarchate. The Catholic Church has neither renounced its errors nor shown any intention of doing so, and all talk of a historic event or a step toward unity, quote unquote, is nothing more than empty rhetoric masking stark and uncomfortable realities. What is required is of us now is sobriety of mind and resistance to manipulation. You get that, my fellow Orthodox? Sobriety of mind and resistance to manipulation. The unity of the Church is possible only in truth, never through compromise with heresy. As St. Paisios warned, our duty is not to betray what we have received. Our duty is not to betray what we have received from the saints. This admonition of the Holy Elder must remain our guiding star in these troubled times. Remember that quote from St. Paisios. Our duty is not to betray what we have received from the saints. Crucial document. Now, this came out supposedly December 5th, so they're just, I guess, reminding us of what happened a year ago, and here it continues. And this is so dangerous, so scandalous, so outrageous, and so disgraceful. So disgraceful. So, let's heed the words, let's keep sober and vigilant, and remember what St. Paisios says here. That's going to be my quote for the saint or elder for the end of this program. But really wanted to share that with you because I'm not sure if you all really knew all of it was that had happened in that liturgy, which the Pope shouldn't be involved in anyway. But all of the things that happen in there are just shocking to me and horrifying. And it's either ignorance or deliberate distortion or manipulation. What do you think it is with this patriarch? Do you think it's ignorance? Or a man who's been on the throne in the Patriarchate of Constantinople for decades, since 1991, so, many decades. Ignorance? Or is this deliberate distortion and manipulation? And what would be the motive of that? What is the point of this? I think it's really important for us as lay people and even as clergy who are listening to this, if they, and I know some of them are making comments, talking about this. This is really crucial stuff here. This is about the canons of our church. This is not a small thing. This is a huge thing. A huge thing. So, just wanted to share that with you. I hope it was helpful, informative. Share your thoughts on this. Thanks so much for watching, for following my channel, for supporting me. Click that bell so that you are the notification bell, so that you get my videos when they come out if you are interested in what I'm putting out. Again, thanks for everything, for all of your support. Until next time.